All right, well, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for our virtual solar event, A Journey to the Sun. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us this evening. And what a good evening to talk about the solar and sunshine on this definitely foggy day. So, glad you could all join us. My name is Jessica Wagner. I am the Environmental Education Coordinator for Jackson County Conservation. I've been working with both the Conservation Board and the Friends of Jackson County Conservation Board to really kind of come together in how we can bring solar here to the Hurstville Interpretive Center. We're all super excited about this venture and glad to have you here where we can share our plans with you this evening. The event tonight is sponsored by Friends of Jackson County Conservation, and we really appreciate them kind of pushing forward here on getting this project going. So thank you to the Friends group. A few things to keep in mind this evening is the program is being recorded. So maybe if you missed something or didn't catch something, we will send a link of the recording to everybody who registered. So you'll find that in your email next week probably. And we'll also post this recording online. So other folks will be able to have a chance to see kind of what we're doing with solar out here at the Hurstville Center. Just please, I ask throughout the evening here to keep your microphone muted and your video turned off, except for our speakers, of course. You guys will come on here and share. So we'll go ahead and kind of get started here. Here's kind of an overview of tonight's program. We'll kind of start out with more specific to the Hurstville Interpretive Center, kind of what our project entails, how you all can support us with our project. And then we'll dive a little deeper into solar energy, some of the technology, finances, and environmental impacts to kind of learn a little bit more about, what is solar energy and why are we going this route? Then we'll share a couple case studies. We have some folks right here in our community in Jackson County that have gone solar, whether at their home or business, and we're excited to share some of those stories with you tonight. At the end of the evening, we'll have some time for some question and answers, and so we welcome your questions. As we go through tonight's program, if any of the speakers talk about something and it kind of, you want to know more information or you have a question about it, I ask that you actually just type it into the chat. And I'll read those questions at the end to our speakers and they'll be able to get those answers for you. Maybe there's a question you don't want to ask for the group. You can always email those questions to friends@jacksoncCB.com. That was the email that sent you the link for this evening. And so you can email questions there and we'll get it to the appropriate person to get the right answer for you. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us tonight. And to kind of start us out here, I'm going to introduce Jim England. Jim is currently our chair for the Jackson County Conservation Board, and he's been a longtime Friends member. Jim has been very invaluable with the solar project, so we're really excited to have him here tonight to tell us more. And so go ahead, Jim. I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Jess. There are a number of reasons for going solar, and there's also a number of benefits. First, there's the obvious benefit of reducing our ongoing operational costs of our energy consumption. Our current electric usage cost for the Interpretive Center is at about $8,000 per year. That is our tax dollars leaving Jackson County and being paid to Alliant Energy. And late last year, Alliant Energy received state approval for a 24% rate increase. This means that our current cost of our electric usage will be increasing. Secondly, whether or not you believe in global warming, it's still the right thing to do for our environment. Also, by installing solar power at the center, conservation can provide a leadership role in reducing our dependence upon fossil fuels and reducing our carbon footprint with a clean, renewable energy source. We will provide an educational element with real-time monitor in the museum showing how much electricity is being produced at any given time. We've worked with 3 solar vendors to obtain proposals for a solar system for the Interpretive Center, and we've been told that Alliant Energy has approved the center for about a 70% production cap, which means that we can generate solar power up to 70% of our annual usage, thereby saving approximately $6,000 per year. In the summer months when sun shines longer, our production will be greater than our usage, During the winter months, our solar production will be less than our usage. With the Alliant Energy net metering tariff, our electric usage is balanced with our solar electric production in April of each year. Alliant will purchase only 50% of any solar production above the production cap at the wholesale rate of 2 3/4 cents per kilowatt hour. The system will be a 50 kilowatt ground-mounted solar array consisting of approximately 80 solar panels in 2 arrays located just east of the center, and it will take some of the prairie. We are planning an outdoor area to the east of the center by the solar panels with brick pavers and where we will have an educational kiosk about the solar system. The bike trail from town will also come into this area, and we would like to finally be able to build the ramp from the Interpretive Center museum level, which will also come into this new area. So this will be a nice outdoor focal point where many things come together. The initial cost of the solar system will be approximately $70,000. We will, of course, seek competitive bids, and we plan to work with the Jackson County Energy District as part of a group buy to further reduce the cost of the system. The Conservation Board plans to budget $35,000 for the project in our 21-22 fiscal year budget. The Friends of Jackson County Conservation is contributing $10,000 and has set a goal to raise $25,000 to complete the project. The cash flow payback is projected to be about 8.5 years, assuming a 3% annual rate increase from Alliant Energy. Of course, if the electric rates rise faster than that, the payback will, of course, be shorter. The expected life of the system is 40 to 45 years and comes with a warranty to still be providing at least 80% of the original electric output in 25 years. And with solar power, we can keep more of our tax dollars here in Jackson County rather than sending those dollars away every month for electric energy produced elsewhere. We hope that you will all see the value in supporting this project to bring solar power to the Interpretive Center and will choose to join us by financially helping. All donations made online tonight through the end of the day tomorrow will be matched dollar for dollar up to a total of $2,500 by an anonymous donor. So please make your contribution tonight or tomorrow. The link on the chat box on your screen will take you to the Friends website to make a donation. You can have your name engraved in a brick by sponsoring a 4x8 brick with a donation of at least $100, or an 8x8 brick for a donation of at least $200. Or you can sponsor a solar panel with a contribution of at least $500 and know that you are helping to reduce carbon emissions by about 25,000 pounds per solar panel. Donations can be made to the Friends of Jackson County Conservation online at jccb.com and click on the donation tab, or mail your contribution to the Friends of Jackson County Conservation. The address is on the screen. The Friends of Jackson County Conservation is a 501c3 organization, so your donations are tax deductible. Thank you, and I hope you will all help us to go solar. Back to you, Jess.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jim. A lot of information there about the Hurstville Interpretive Center solar project. So if you have any questions for Jim or just anything about some of the information he shared, go ahead and type those into the chat box, and we would love to answer those questions later during the program. So thanks again, Jim. And like Jim said, all donations tonight and tomorrow are being matched. We really hope to get that full match of $2,500. So we really appreciate any support you can give to us through the donations. And like he said, the link there is in the chat box. You can go online. Next up for this evening's program, I'd like to introduce Rocky Yanakouris. Rocky is a certified installation professional with the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners. Rocky is also the COO for Blue Sky Solar and is a board member to our friends to the north there, the Dubuque Energy District. So Rocky is going to dive a little deeper into what solar energy is and kind of how it works. And so we really appreciate Rocky joining us this evening. So Rocky, if you're there, you can take it away.
Sounds good. So unfortunately, I won't have video. I don't know if you guys can see me or not, but while I'm speaking, try to imagine Brad Pitt, because I've been mistaken for him quite often. So thanks for that introduction, Justin. I was really impressed that you took a swing at my last name. That's a tough one, and you did a good job. So yeah, really exciting project. I'm really honored to be a part of it and happy that I can help out with the fundraising effort. I want to talk a little bit about, you know, the value of solar. And I think Jim did a good job on touching on this, but, you know, it's a concept we've talked about for a long time. There's some really obvious benefits to solar in terms of the environmental benefits, clean air, climate change, things like that. But more recently, several states surrounding Iowa have actually gone out and dug deeper into, like, what is the true value of a kilowatt hour of solar back to the grid. So most notably Minnesota, Missouri, and recently Illinois have all pursued this endeavor. And I was headed down that road too. And what we're finding is there's quite a few benefits to solar energy that don't often get counted. So recently in the last couple months, it's been verified again that solar and wind energy are in fact the least expensive new sources of energy. So while we don't expect legacy power plants, you know, natural gas plants to completely go away in the near future, any new infrastructure that's being built around energy is almost certainly going to be renewables, just because it's coming in at a lower cost even before incentives right now. So obviously we have avoided pollution through solar. We have avoided distribution losses. So solar typically generates electricity where it's needed, especially distributed solar like you guys are talking about tonight. So it also reduces the need for like peaker capacity. And we're a part of the MISO grid here. And as a part of the MISO grid, collectively, like, we are still an air conditioning peak grid. So the kind of the 5-state area that makes up MISO, we peak with air conditioning in the summer. That's typically problematic to utilities like Alliant Energy and the REC that purchase their energy from a wholesaler. Alliant Energy only produces about 30% of their power themselves, so they're purchasing that on a spot market. And in those summer rates, you can see rates as high as 25 cents a kilowatt hour. So they're losing money when they sell you electricity during that time, and that happens to coincide really well with solar production. So it's a great resource to the grid. And on the next slide, I can talk a little bit about the technology and kind of follow up a little bit on that. But just touching base. Sorry, I skipped over a few items there. But solar panels, like, another big advantage to them is you know, the material in solar panels is generally inert materials. I know there's been some buzz in the media about, you know, rare earth and precious metals in solar panels, but the type of solar panels that are commonly in the market don't actually have a lot of that in there. It's aluminum frames, and the primary component is silicone, which is an abundant, you know, resource on the planet. So when it comes to thin film and other technologies, you can have some of those other pollutants, but they're in very small quantities in monocrystalline technology like we'd be talking about here. So sorry, Jess, if you want to go to the next slide, I can follow up then on the technology side there. So as I touched on, the PV modules that we use, it's called monocrystalline, which is sort of it's known as 4th generation PV inside the industry. So in the 10 years I've been doing this, we've seen some transitions, but the basic technology has mostly stayed the same. Most of the innovation in solar hasn't actually really happened with the solar panels. It's been with their manufacturing. So the technology is very similar to the original solar cell made in the Bell Laboratory. And that's, you know, while in some cases that can seem a little less romantic because we like to think of big innovations in solar, it's also a little comforting to know that it's not an untested and untrue technology. It has very long generating capacity or useful life because it has no moving parts. So as a matter of fact, the first solar cell made in the Bell Laboratory still produces power. And whenever I hear that, I just think that's so shocking. And what we've done is through automation and better manufacturing processes, we've brought the cost significantly down of producing solar. We've brought the efficiency up incrementally over time. And through the automation process, we've created better hermetic seals on the panels. So it's pretty standard now for PV modules to have a 25-year warranty. And like we mentioned, easily a 40-year useful life. But honestly, that's theoretical because they'll still be producing power most likely at 40 years. It's questionable whether they're worth the space they're taking up at that point. But their life is kind of theoretical. They tend to last a very long time. As a general rule, tier 1 modules in Iowa, that dominates the market. So I assume all the bids you'll get for your project will be rated by Bloomberg Energy. I think that's the kind of the low bar, and it's nice to have a third party certifying the quality and financial stability of the companies producing the panels. So while the solar panel technology hasn't really evolved too much other than the manufacturing process, the big innovations of solar have really happened at the inverter level. And that's where it continues every day to kind of get more and more exciting. So the technology that you'll be using most likely here will be a DC hybrid inverter. Some of the features that offers that just weren't even available, as short as 3 to 4 years ago, are module level rapid shutdown. When you flip the disconnect on your switch, it cuts the power at the modules down to touch safe voltage, which is under 30 volts in less than 10 seconds. So it's actually safer than almost any electrical appliance in your house, which is fantastic. With that comes a higher shade tolerance with PV modules. So if there's soiling like snow melting unevenly off the panels, each individual panel will meet its full potential when the sun's hitting it, regardless of what the panel next to it is doing. So if birds leave you a present intermittently throughout the year and it hasn't rained in a while, the panels that are clear and shade-free and soil-free will produce at 100%. And that wasn't always the case with solar. The inverter is also responsible for the DC to AC conversion, so that solar panels make DC power. It's very efficient and higher voltage, but it converts it to the voltage that your facility will be using, and it'll match the sine wave of the utility indistinguishably, so you have perfect grid power. And it also offers just a higher efficiency operating window. The hybrid inverters of today are planning ahead for the future of the electrification economy. So they blend seamlessly with revenue grade consumption monitoring, which also couples really nicely with lithium ion battery technology and EV charging stations that can all be coupled right into the battery under one, like what they call a hub. And so all of that's really fantastic news. The inverters are also, they're Rule 21 smart inverters. So they can also offer grid services down the road, such as ride-through, voltage boost for the utilities, and a whole host of other services that in the future, this asset will evolve to have a very high value for the utility as well as your facility. Take a look at the next slide there. Thank you. So the finances, right? This is the $1 million question, or at least a couple $1,000 question, right? So there's a short window where if you're looking at solar for your house or your business, the federal tax credit steps down 4% at the end of the year, but there's a short window to still get in on that opportunity. If you're a business, you just have to have started the project, and you can safe harbor that tax credit at 26%. For residents, you'd actually want the system placed in service in 2020. So just to talk a little bit about it, the cost for the average residential system is between $8,000 and $15,000, which seems like a big out of pocket, but the majority of the cost comes back in the first couple of years through tax incentives. The current incentive structure is a non-refundable tax credit, so you would be offsetting tax liability that you owe to the IRS, but the tax credit can be carried forward. So if you can't you know, if you can't monetize the full tax credit in 1 year, you can carry it forward up to 20 years. And the state tax credit is paired with the federal credit at 50% of the federal credit. So that would be equal to a 13% tax credit. So in total, a 39% in tax incentives. The current state tax credit is oversubscribed due to the popularity of solar in Iowa, but you would be put on a waiting list and would be able to capture that in future years. So right now it's looking like it would either be 2021 or 2022, but that money's available. And most solar installers are going to guarantee those funds to you. So that's an important thing to ask your solar installer. Another incentive available right now through Alliant Energy is net metering. And this is one that may go away. And net metering is basically what it sounds like. It sounds like you're taking a great advantage of it in this project in particular. What net metering is it doesn't distinguish when the power is produced from the solar array. So the utility will put in a bi-directional meter and they'll track inflows and outflows. And it's just what it sounds like. They give you a net bill. So kilowatt hours out against kilowatt hours in, and you pay a net bill. So the utility's acting like a big 100% free and 100% efficient battery for you, which is a fantastic opportunity and a great incentive. I'll get to this in a little bit, but that incentive may be going away. But anyone that gets in before it changes is grandfathered in and can keep that through the life cycle of their system. There's some other advantages to businesses. 100% bonus depreciation, which is typical for equipment purchases, and the USDA REAP grant, those would be available to businesses only. The REAP grant can be as much as 25% of the project cost. So for farms and small businesses in rural areas, fantastic opportunity there. The ROI depends on the amount of energy offset and the utility provider, but usually ranges between 6 and 12% annually. So a great return and a stable return from a warranted product that has a guarantee on output. I mentioned the tax credits will step down. On net metering, that's a very important issue that gets overlooked. So I would encourage everyone to look at trying to, if you're considering solar, try to get a quote and try to think about getting at least your application in with the utility to get grandfathered into net metering, because that can play a substantial role in the economics long term in the project. So that was a lot of talking. If anyone has any questions, feel free, or maybe there'll be a Q&A at the end here.
Yeah, thank you, Rocky. That was awesome. Lots of cool information. Again, yeah, so Rocky is super knowledgeable about all things solar. So if you have questions for him, type it into the chat box. He'll be with us during our Q&A here at the end and can answer those questions. Kind of sounded like a lot of information, but really kind of helped us determine that this was really a good thing for here at the Hurstville Interpretive Center. So we're really excited about it. Anything else to add, Rocky?
No, I just, that was a whole lot of information, but like I said, I'll stick around at the end, and I'm happy to go over any of that in more detail or less detail, whichever people prefer. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rocky. So yeah, if you guys have questions for him, please type those in the chat box. And then if anyone is interested in pursuing solar, maybe a little more on a personal note, our local energy district here in Jackson County has an event coming up. And Bruce Fisher is here with us tonight. He's a board member for Friends of Jackson County Conservation and our Jackson County Energy District. And so Bruce, I'm gonna switch to the next slide and let you talk a little bit about that event that's coming up.
Thanks, Jess. Hi, everybody. Pleasure to be with you tonight. And as Jess said, I'm Bruce Fisher. In addition to my involvement with the Friends Group, which is my favorite not-for-profit organization in the world, I am also the chairperson of the Jackson County Energy District. It would be an equally important effort of mine. And I wanted to take a few minutes to tell you about our energy district, to inform you about some things that might be helpful as you consider solar going forward. The Energy District is a relatively recently formed not-for-profit. We're just a little over a year old, and our purpose is to help Jackson County make the transition to locally generated renewable energy and to increase energy efficiency. And the reason we're doing that is twofold. Number one, we know that locally generated renewable energy can drive economic development within Jackson County. and help us retain our energy dollars within the county rather than having to send out to out-of-state endeavors. Second, we believe that, importantly, we can contribute toward the conservation cause and do our part in stewarding our environment. This is a perfect scenario where really green meets green. Economic development, dollars in Jackson County, good for our environment, good for conservation. So we're so excited to have those kind of twin purposes behind us. In addition to our energy efficiency projects that we're involved in, we're making a major push now to develop solar energy in Jackson County. And as part of that, we're conducting a virtual solar fair this Saturday, October 24th. So just in 2 days from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And if you have an interest in learning more about using the sun to power your home or your farm or your business, please join us for this informative session. We're going to have 2 contractors join us. Rocky will be one of them. He'll have his colleague / competitor from Eagle Point also joining us to answer any questions you may have and discuss everything you might need to know about solar. And again, for those of you who want to go solar now and maximize your tax credits this year, this solar fair can really lead you to maybe a free site assessment and get you moving toward your goal. If on the other hand you're unsure about solar but might want to consider it in the future, the program's also for you. We'll be talking about the group buy that Jim referred to, and you can learn how to gain some purchasing power and take advantage of the hopefully the reduced costs that will come with a countywide solar purchase program in 2021. So please join us for the Zoom meeting. It's free, it's easy. Contact us at the email or on Facebook as suggested here on the slide. mail@jacksoncounty.energydistrict.org will get us, and we'll be sure to send you an invitation and look forward to seeing you Saturday morning. And I think that's thanks everybody, and go solar.
Hey, thank you so much, Bruce. Friends of Jackson County Conservation really kind of appreciates the partnership we have with the Jackson County Energy District. So it's been really good to work with them as we move forward with the solar project here at the Hurstville Center. All right, well, the next part of our program tonight, we wanted to showcase some folks in our community that are really already have gone solar, and we wanted to hear a little bit more about them. So this first video here that we're going to show, all the videos are about 2 to 3 minutes, so not real long, but really kind of help us understand how and why they went solar. The first video here was with Dave Gossman, and Dave Gossman is in rural Jackson County, and he talks a little bit about how solar has worked for his business and his farm.
Okay, so our project here was to actually do a non-grid tie, an off-grid project for solar. I had an old barn. We use it as a machine shed on the lower level and air drying for lumber on the upper level. At the long time, it doesn't have any good lights, no good electrical, so it all needed to be redone anyway. We put 3 100-watt solar panels on that are mounted here. They are adjustable, but we found that we can just leave them as they are and they still provide plenty of power. Okay, so from the solar panels, power comes in, goes through the charger unit, charges a deep cycle marine battery. That marine battery then feeds a AC converter that can put out up to 3,000 watts. That runs all the electrical outlets and LED lights in the barn. So inside the barn, we ran all new electrical lines. We put in ground fault interrupt outlets, and then we've put in LED lights so that we can work on the equipment out here in the barn anytime, even during the winter and the evenings or the early mornings. So as part of our off-grid project, we're also converting a lot of our logging operations to electric chainsaws. And all of these are the batteries. These are big lithium-ion batteries that run our electric chainsaws. And they're also now all being solar powered through the solar panels. Okay, so the real reason behind our little mini project here with solar power was to get a feel for how solar power would work here on the farm. We've got a timber process here. It was the first place to start with an off-grid project, but eventually we'll do on-grid projects both at the farmhouse and some of the other buildings and do grid ties with those.
So as you can see, Dave was able to utilize solar to take his barn off-grid and really to help his timber business there at his farm. Not everyone goes off-grid though. So next video here we want to share with you is of Scott Warren. He is the executive director with the Maquoketa YMCA. And Scott is going to kind of talk about how solar has really helped the YMCA financially and to further its mission.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me today. Wanted to share with you our solar project. We actually had was divided into two different groups. The first group included the first 3 solar arrays that we have. Those costs were covered between a half from a 0% loan and then a half from a grant that we were able to secure. This last one was actually from Community Foundation. We were able to secure funding to purchase the entire array. We're looking at, as far as a return on investment, we're looking to have that paid off really within 5 years, maybe 6 at the worst. And the life expectancy on the low end is 25 years, upwards to 40 years. So as you stop to consider how impactful that can be for our YMCA, it's absolutely huge. When we initially got that, the plan from our board was to go ahead and allow that to reduce what we charge for our youth sports programs. So now you can sign up for a youth sport for $20. Really, we took a look at our community, and we know we've got a lot of people, hardworking folks making 12, 13, 14, 15 bucks an hour, just barely able to get by. So we wanted to make sure that everybody could afford to be a part of the Y, could afford to be a part of who we are, what we are, let the kids be like just every other kid, participate in a sporting event. Our production from these typically will end up about $12,000 a year is what we'll actually generate in savings, which for us, like I said, will go ahead and help not only programs, helps to bring down our operating costs, allows us to do more, allows us to have more money to go towards mission, provide more scholarships, do more good in the community. We're able to monitor the production of the solar online. There's an online program. Literally, I can pull it up at any point in time. I can see how each of my 4 arrays are doing, how much they're producing, how much they're reducing the carbon emissions. They show an equivalent of the number of trees that are saved because of these solar panels. So we've been just absolutely love the project. We were able to place them in an area where we didn't anticipate developing really anytime over the next 40 years. So we had the land. We're able to secure the funding, the stars aligned, and what we have today is something that benefits not only us, but the community as a whole. The way we're structured at the YMCA, we are YMCA employees with the Scott County Y. We live here locally, but we manage city revenues and city expenses. So these solar panels not only help the Y, they not only help the program, but ultimately these savings will ultimately help every taxpayer in the city. So great program, great project. So thankful that we did it, and we hope that you guys are able to go ahead and do the same thing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Scott, for helping out with that video. It was great to see how solar has really impacted the YMCA and that they've been able to reallocate some of the money that would have gone to the utilities instead of furthering their mission. Many of you have seen the solar array at the Maquoketa YMCA that you saw there in the video, laid out on the lawn adjacent to the building. The Interpretive Center's solar array will be similar. Ours will be to the east of the building, and we will have 2 arrays in the prairie near the captive swan enclosure. Our next video shows Bruce Fisher at his rural Monmouth farm. Bruce talks about the reasons why he recently implemented a solar array to power his house and his outbuildings. As part of that, he shares a bit about the advanced technology that he is leveraging with his solar system.
Everybody, I'm Bruce Fisher, and I'm recently a proud owner of a solar system. And I wanted to spend a couple moments just sharing with you why I decided to go solar. And first reason, honestly, is just for conservation purposes. I'm an environmentalist at my heart, and I'm very pleased that by having my solar array, I'll be really withholding tons of CO2 out of the atmosphere. And I feel good about that. It's also a pretty good deal financially. In my system here, I'm going to earn over the 25-year lifetime of the system, and that's warranted lifetime. I'll be earning about an 8% return on investment. So I look at it as a financial win, though that's not maybe the primary motivation for me doing it in this case. Finally, I love technology, and this technology is pretty amazing in terms of what it's going to allow me to do with regard to how I end up power my house and my barn and my cabins and such. And the way this works is, of course, the panels themselves are pretty awesome, but the magic behind a solar array really is associated with the inverter. And the inverter is kind of the technology that allows us to take the direct current, kind of unbridled wild energy, and transfer it into alternating current, which goes into my house. This is a system that's very much called an optimized system, so it really leverages the individual panels and maximizes the amount of electricity we're able to generate for the home. Beyond that, though, there are three other features that really technologically drew me to this particular operation. One is the inverter has an input for a battery, so I can actually save my energy that I'm banking during the daylight hours for the evening if I want to. And while I'm not planning to go off the grid, ultimately this would give me that capacity. So when battery technology evolves, I might go that route eventually. We'll see. Second, there's an input for my my electric car. In fact, I can program my car charger to connect with my panel so that, for example, it only charges my battery when the sun is out. My battery won't charge when it's dark. I won't have to pay to charge my battery. In fact, I can only charge my car battery when the electricity otherwise would have been excess and I would have been forced to sell back to the power company. Those are some of the interesting dynamics, so I maximize the economic return on my investment here with this inverter and how it relates to my car. And then finally, there's an input on my inverter for a generator. You know, with the recent derecho, I didn't have a generator. I did lose electricity. Luckily, it wasn't for too long, but I want to have that kind of backup as well. And the generator feeds right into this, links right into my electrical system. So I'm pretty proud about that and excited as well. Doing the right thing environmentally, doing the right thing economically, and doing some pretty powerful things technologically to make my life easier and more hopefully cost effective. Go solar. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Bruce. We really appreciate you sharing with us, especially the reasons why you went solar. That's really just great to hear. And so if anyone has any questions for Bruce or Scott or Dave, please put those in the chat box. We've seen a few questions come up, and we'll make sure to get those answered for you here at the end. So we would like to thank everyone for joining us this evening for tonight's program, A Journey to the Sun. We're super excited out here at the Hurstville Interpretive Center to be kind of taking this plunge and getting some renewable energy for the Hurstville Interpretive Center. So we really hope to have your support. And with that, I hope if you guys have any questions that you guys put those in the chat box, and I think we'll get started with those. So let me pop through here. So Jim, one of the questions for you is somebody asked what our timeline is, when we think we're going to get started, and when these solar panels will be up and running. Jim, are you with us?
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay.
The Conservation Board does the budgeting in December, and then that goes to the Board of Supervisors. And typically, I think we get approval of our budget in February. And so we will be budgeting at the end of this year. And if the supervisors approve that in February, then we'll be ready to go in the new fiscal year, which begins July 1st of 2021. And so we would like to be putting out for bids probably around January, February of this year. And we, of course, won't be able to accept any bids and sign any contracts until we know that it's been approved. And so our goal is to be ready for the installation as soon as possible after the new fiscal year begins July 1st, so we can take advantage of some of that good summer sunlight.
Absolutely. So that's kind of the timeline for what we have going on here at the Hurstville Center. So thanks, Jim. Rocky, if you're still with us, maybe you can help us with this question, or Bruce or Jim might be able to. But somebody asked how much maintenance is going to be required. You know, that's going to kind of fall on the conservation staff here. So with this solar array, what kind of maintenance are we looking at?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for the most part, solar is pretty darn maintenance free. The solar panels, it's recommended that, you know, you wash the panels once a year, like manufacturers generally recommend that. Most of the solar integrators that I've seen, and I can speak to us for sure, we plan in a pretty good amount of soiling because we figure people forget to do that. So we plan in at least a 2% soiling factor. So you can be lazy and not, you know, wash your panels off during the summer when there's no rain for a long period. And you'll only lose about 2%. Or another way you could think of it is you could wash them off and maybe gain an extra 2%. Most of the maintenance nowadays with solar can be done remotely. So we do, you'll have access to this as well. And I don't know if you'll give the donors access to this. You'd have that opportunity if you wanted to, but it's cloud-based monitoring, and it gets very granular with the new technology I was talking about. So you'll be able to see individual module level voltages and amperages, and you know, you can see them as a whole to see if they're keeping up with each other. You can do a time of day playback in 15-minute intervals to see if any's lagging behind during a certain time of the day. So I would say about 70% of the maintenance can be done remotely sitting at your desk. But there are some just best practices that we do from time to time, torque checks and things like that. And we just plan that in as like a, you know, typically like a biannual maintenance check on systems we have out there. That stuff would be generally included under a labor warranty. And then past the 5-year labor warranty, you can work out an O&M contract, but typically pretty maintenance free.
Awesome. That's really good to hear. So not a lot of maintenance, and a way to monitor them, right? So we know what they're producing and how they're doing. We've even talked about having some sort of screen here on our exhibit floor at the center, and showing that real-time data, so visitors and people can see how are they producing on a sunny day versus a cloudy day and things like that. So awesome.
Great
Thank
idea.
you. Yeah, thank you, Rocky. Somebody asked here about tax credits, if that applies to us. I don't know, Rocky or Jim or even Bruce. I think, you know, Jim, if you want to kind of talk about that part.
Okay, the tax credits do not apply for us because we're a 501c3 organization as the Friends, and the Conservation Board is a government entity, so that precludes our taking advantage of any tax credits. But anybody that wants to put the solar in on their business or their home would certainly qualify.
Great. Thanks for kind of clarifying that, Jim. And that's kind of why, you know, we aren't going to see those kinds of discounts with any tax credits. So, you know, that budget that we have, we're hoping we can raise those funds and be able to do this next year. Bruce, here's a fun comment. Somebody was really excited about your charging for your electric car, and they thought an electric charging station for the center's future would be something really great to see. So not so much a question, but kind of a comment. So who knows? We'll see where kind of that takes us. So that would be pretty cool. I don't see any more questions here this evening. So I think with that, we'll kind of pull our program to a close. I would like to thank everyone again for joining us to learn more about our project. And so we hope to have informed you about our journey here to the sun and to go solar. And again, we would love to have your support. All donations made tonight through the end of the day tomorrow will be matched up to $2,500. And we're not quite there, so any donations you make online today or tomorrow, we'd really appreciate it. We are open tomorrow at the Hurstville Interpretive Center from 9 to 4, so you can drop off a check for any donation as well. Oh, I had one more question come in, and it says, for donations, can you use kind of like in a checking account online, or does it have to be credit card? And for our system, we use mycountyparks.com, which is a website for all 99 county conservation departments. We only have it available for credit cards, but maybe if there's some other things you're looking at doing, just give us a call tomorrow in the office here between 9 and 4. Our number is 652-3783, and maybe we can help you out with some of those things. So Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Rocky and Jim and Bruce and Dave and Scott, for all of our speakers for sharing information tonight, and for all you folks for joining us. So everybody have a great evening, and maybe we'll enjoy some of that sunshine tomorrow. So
Thank you, Jess.
thank you. Take care, everyone.